Thank you for staying with us. It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on Nigerian newspapers, and I begin with the Nation newspaper. PDP quakes as Wike's group opts out of Atiku's campaign. Camp insists Ayu must quit. Chairman won't be forced out, says Atiku. All right, you find the details on the front page of the Nation newspaper. And still talking about the ongoing crisis in the PDP, the Punch newspaper now. Ayu must go. PDP calls emergency meeting over governors. Others gang up. PDP calls emergency meeting over governors. Others gang up. You find the details on the front page of the Punch newspaper. To the front page of the Daily Trust now. Atiku to Wike's camp. Retrace your steps. We won't participate in campaign under Ayu, the Rivers governor's camp. Solution coming, BOT chair speaking. Crisis will benefit APC, others. Analysts are saying there. All right, you find the details on the front page of the Daily Trust. To the Nigerian News Direct, still focusing on the PDP crisis. Ayu Atiku Pale. PDP crisis worsens as the Wike's camp pulls out of Atiku's campaign council. The details on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. To this Nigerian newspaper now, storm over Ayu's removal. Wike's group pulls out of Presidential Campaign Council, insists on Southern chairman for PDP. I won't force him to resign. Atiku is speaking. All right. To the front page of this day newspaper, PDP crisis deepens as Wike loyalists pull out of Atiku's campaign. Details on the front page of the This Day newspaper. To the Guardian now, 2023, Wike's camp reopens PDP wounds, snubs Atiku's campaign. Details on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. To the Daily Sun, war without end in PDP. On the front page of the Daily Sun, war without end in PDP. Wike's group pulls out of Atiku's campaign. I can't force Ayu to resign, says presidential candidate. Wagbara Peace Committee meets autumn, pledges quick resolution of feud. All right, all of the details on the front page of the Daily Sun. On the front page of the Blueprint now, still talking about the PDP crisis, Atiku calls Wike's bluff, says it's time to move on. Insists nobody can force Ayu to resign. We backed out of campaign council because he remains in office. Ayu's exit will spell doom for PDP. Done. All right, the details on the front page of the Blueprint. And to the First News newspaper now, still talking about this crisis. Atiku calls Wike allies bluff, says nobody can sack Ayu. The details on the front page of the First News newspaper. All right, now, and away from the PDP crisis, on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, why court ordered ASU to call off 7-month-long strike. ASU to appeal court order on resumption today. It's a win-win situation, Nance speaking. All right, details on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. To the front page of the Daily Times, ASU strike, Nance kicks against court judgment, says court cannot force members of ASU back to lecture theatres. Judge cites national interest for order, remits case filed to CJ for reassignment. All right, ASU rejects court order, vows to appeal. Federal government hails judgment, says no victor, no vanquished. All the details on the front page of the Daily Times. To the Leadership newspaper now, in final outing of the UN General Assembly, President Muhammadu Buhari seeks debt pardon for Nigeria, pledges credible elections in 2023. All right, to the front page of the Business Day rather now, 35% of dollar millionaires lose status under Buhari. 35% of dollar millionaires lose status under Buhari. All right. I believe we'll begin from the PDP crisis, which is on the front page of almost all of the papers this morning. You know, we saw yesterday that Wike and his camp pulled out of the campaign for the presidential candidates of the party. And immediately, we saw a reaction from Atiku Abubakar. And he says that Ayu cannot resign, cannot be forced to resign, except he does that on his own. And that there is also the aspect of the law and the party's constitution as well.
There's crisis of confidence in the PDP just now. And as I've said in the past, the thing has just gotten to a rot. In fact, they've gotten to a point of no return, as I see it, because there's no way that Atiku is going to ask Ayu to resign. But he himself saying that is a little hypocritical.
Right.
He could ask him to resign. He could ask him to resign. There's nothing wrong in you asking the chairman to resign.
But there was an agreement from Wike's statement.
Yeah, there was an agreement before the whole primaries.
Yes.
That, you know, we have a northern person. If we get somebody from the north, you step down. But the problem is not the problem of Ayu, as I've always said. The problem is not Ayu. The problem is Atiku. Atiku committed the original sin. The ESCO was created on the understanding that the president will come from the south. That's why you have a northern chairman.
Yes.
So, Atiku, because of his overweening ambition, came in and said, no, we are not going to look at zoning this time. In other words, Atiku is the candidate, therefore, all rules must be, he must follow the law of Nietzsche, or what Dostoevsky said about powerful men in his novel Crime and Punishment, that if you are the big man, the rules are supposed to be bent to you and not to you to the rules. Well, it is getting clear that Atiku is not such a big man. It's not Solon. It's not Pericles. It's not Churchill. It's not Napoleon. It's not a force like that. So he has to abide by the law. Now, Atiku, who said that we should now abide by the law, did not know that there was a law when he was running, a party law when he was running for office. See, that's the contradiction. So the problem is Ayu. The problem is Atiku, it's not Ayu. Because they can always ask Ayu to step down. But the problem again is more complicated than that. If Ayu steps down, what happens to the secretary of the party? What happens to the spokesman? What happens to the treasurer? Because all of these were based on zoning. Yes. And you cannot remove one zone and not affect the other zone. It's like a stack of cards. Everything will come tumbling down. So it has reached a situation where if you go right, you can't solve it. If you go left, you can't solve it. It's like patch. You patch one part of the cloth, it will come at the other side, will also tear. And then what do you want to do now?
But
you now wear if it's pancake, it's different. Because pancake you can just cover it. But if it's cloth, you cannot, unless you buy another cloth and wear on top of it. And then you become a masquerade.
There are still moves to reconcile, all of the differences to still have one house, because a house divided against itself, as we often say, cannot stand. And the campaigns will begin in earnest sometime next week.
By a week.
Yes. So, and there are those who are saying something can still be done. Something can still give to ensure that every party comes together.
Yeah. That's why I said what we have is a crisis of confidence. If there is confidence, they can go on. As I said last week, if there's no trust, there's no trust forward. Unless that, but you have to trust yourself first. But there's no trust. There's suspicion everywhere. Everybody's looking at everybody's shot. But again, you have men of stature who have said they are pulling out of it. You have Makinde, you have, of course, I don't think I saw him there, but it's one of them. You have Otto, you have Jank, you have, what do you call it, the former governor of Cross River, the David Duke. You have all of these men. They're important to the party. You have Jerry Ghana. Why Jerry Ghana is neither here nor there. He's a spent force in politics, but his presence, at least he's moving with big people. But you have, of all of them, you have the big fish there. You have Wike, who was at one time personifies the party. it was called, PDP was called Wike Inc. At that time.
And that's another thing that some persons believe maybe he's been taking for granted, so to speak, that because he has devoted himself, his time, his resources, everything to the party, there's this feeling that he will not work against the party, just let things like, we can move on. He's there, he will commit to the party, whatever it is.
Yeah. They always think that people will always fall in line. There are some people who will never fall in line. There are some people who feel so aggrieved that they rather die than fall in line. There are people like that. So you have to people have to understand that crisis sometimes you have to weigh. Atiku didn't want to make Wike his running mate. Atiku is afraid of the gods of Wike. Clearly, that's why he picked Okowa. And apart from other reasons, people have said, well, Okowa has a lot of money. He went to take a loan of 270 billion. We know to do what? Which we feel that must be money. Money must be monitored. How it is spent till he leaves us, because he has just a few months and he's taking that much money from the officers. Some people are saying that part of it is what they call it, the Atiku campaign is looking at, to help shore up the resources of the campaign. So if you cannot have who was called PDP Inc. That's Wike. We cannot have somebody else from the Niger Delta to help with the situation. That is what some people have speculated. Well, that is yet to be seen. But we have to look at the fact that you remove Wike, but you're not even able to pacify him. Okay, he says, okay, for you to pacify me, you have to remove the chairman. But you don't see Wike is a fool. Wike knows that if you remove the chairman, you have to remove the secretary, and you have to follow a certain process.
Absolutely.
You can't remove the chairman by fiat.
No.
There has to be some kind of special convention. You have to.
Which they may not have the time to do.
And then the secretary will say, "Why will you remove me?" It becomes that. That's why I said that it's smash problem. You can't remove me. If you want, the spokesman will say, No, I've been here. I've been talking, I've been doing my job. Why do you want to remove me? No, if you remove the chairman, then the whole hierarchy has to be tossed. And they don't want it to be tossed. So that is the problem with the PDP. The PDP is in a situation where, as I say, a point of no return. Remember when you go to Badagry, when you get the slaves, when we put them to, after passing through all the process, all the tunnel, and you are getting to the water. Once you get to the water and you are going overseas, it's a point of no return. So that is what we are seeing now with PDP. And it's only a miracle. I know miracles really happen.
Yes, there are a lot of persons who believe a miracle can happen. In politics, 24 hours is a lot of time.
Some people believe that miracles don't happen at all.
I know,
whether spiritually or in temporal life. And that when you say that a miracle has happened, as Dostoevsky said, that the miracle is not actually the thing that happens, is that what you think is a miracle. So if your bread stays longer than necessary, you are to decide whether the bread is actually staying longer than necessary, not that the bread stays longer than necessary in your stomach. It is how it is.
Actually, let's wait to see what happens at the end of the day, leading up to the campaigns. If Wike will change his mind and his team will change his mind, or something would give.
They have a stalwart in Udom who can do some work, but let's see how that goes.
Let's see how that goes.
Yes.